Okay, let's dive into this. If you think the biggest AI story right now is just another benchmark leap in raw intelligence, you are completely missing the real headline. The limiting factor? It's no longer intelligence. It is absolutely deployment.
Just to set the stage right off the bat, this explainer is strictly an impartial, anti-hype newsroom analysis of enterprise AI strategy. We're talking education only here, definitely not financial advice. So let's look at the massive structural shift happening in the enterprise stack right now.
For what feels like 2 solid years now, AI has been totally stuck in this isolated pilot era. Lots of cool experiments, but very little measurable business value. Well, we are now aggressively entering the deployment era. The major AI labs have basically realized that building a smarter model doesn't mean a thing if you can't actually integrate it into messy, real-world corporate workflows.
And that brings us to the hard news. Anthropic just dropped a major announcement that they are forming a dedicated enterprise AI services company. They aren't just, selling access to Claude anymore. They're literally building a vehicle to push Claude deep into the core operations of mid-sized businesses. We're talking regional healthcare systems, community banks, the works.
And they're backing this venture with some absolute Wall Street heavyweights: Blackstone, Hellman & Friedman, and Goldman Sachs. The AI labs are playing the classic enterprise software game here. They're buying distribution. By teaming up with Wall Street, they essentially acquire an industrial-scale deployment machine to reach thousands of mid-market portfolio companies.
Wait, hold on a second. Let me just jump in here. Isn't this literally just consulting? Tech companies have spun up services arms for decades to prop up software sales. Is this really some new era of AI deployment, or just a flashy rebrand of a standard consulting agency trying to cash in on the hype?
Yeah, look, it's a totally fair question, but Anthropic's actual strategy rebuts that. They're deploying what they call applied AI engineers. Now, these aren't your typical external advisors just dropping off a fancy slide deck. These are lab-trained engineers who embed directly with a customer's team to build secure, tailored systems into their actual operations. They're the ones handling the messy reality of workflow redesign, not just handing over an API key.
And get this, Anthropic is definitely not acting alone here. Axios is reporting developing news that OpenAI is pursuing a parallel deployment push specifically via private equity channels. So regardless of which AI vendor you prefer, the entire market is converging on the exact same Wall Street playbook. This reported private equity push connects perfectly to OpenAI's confirmed enterprise strategy. Through their frontier alliances, they're partnering with major consulting firms to deploy autonomous agents across entire enterprise systems. They're explicitly telling the market that real value comes from moving past simple experimentation to embedding agents into daily operations, governed by strict permissions.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the concept of forward-deployed engineering, or FDE. This is OpenAI's model of embedding their own builders directly into client workflows right alongside those major consultancies. They know that AI usually dies the exact second it hits a 20-year-old legacy database and, frankly, human stubbornness. FDE teams handle that massive friction of integration. Enterprise AI is now, without a doubt, a heavy-duty execution business.
So, to really understand why private equity is the ultimate distribution channel, you just have to look at the math. A massive PE firm owns dozens, sometimes hundreds of different companies, and most of them share the exact same operational bottlenecks. Things like messy customer support, inefficient billing, slow IT help desks. An AI lab uses the PE firm as a centralized channel to instantly push AI downstream to dozens of destinations all at once.
This structure allows for the true industrialization of AI adoption. The ultimate goal here is creating repeatable deployment templates. If you solve invoice routing for one portfolio company, you don't start from scratch for the next one. You just copy the template across the entire portfolio. That is exactly how you turn isolated AI experiments into massive, scalable ROI. So who actually cashes in on this execution-heavy deployment market? We're seeing 3 clear winners. 1, systems integrators who handle the change management. 2, vertical SaaS vendors. These are the core system of record software tools, like CRMs, where these new AI agents actually live and breathe. And 3, strong internal ops teams who know how to clearly define a workflow in the first place.
But on the flip side, the obvious losers here are disconnected point solutions. Enterprise buyers are just completely exhausted by chaotic, isolated AI tools that don't talk to their core databases. Seriously, if your AI feature doesn't seamlessly integrate into a company's broader operating layer, it's going to get absolutely crushed by these massive deployment engines.
All right, let's make this actionable for you today. Your next move shouldn't be agonizing over which AI model is technically the best. It's picking a single workflow. We've actually distilled these massive enterprise strategies down into a highly practical operator playbook. It's a rapid-fire 7-day checklist to safely deploy AI without paying for expensive, useless AI theater.
Let's move to and see how this builds. Step 1. Rigidly isolate a single workflow, something specific like vendor onboarding. Step 2. Precisely define the done state, like are you measuring time saved or error rates? Actually write it down. Step 3. Lock your permissions first. Before a single prompt is even written, govern that data access. What can the agent see and what absolutely 100% requires human approval?
Moving on to the next phase. Step 4. Wire it directly into your existing system of record, like your CRM. Please do not build a shadow database just for AI. Step 5. Add a reality harness. Basically, log the outputs and mandate a human review loop. And step 6, measure the exact before and after metrics on a tightly controlled small cohort before you even think about scaling company-wide.
To see how those steps actually look in practice, consider the Side Hustle Command Center. It's a structured dashboard that handles project planning by combining a dedicated, real-world workflow with AI support. It really proves that wrapping one clear, defined process in an integrated system yields significantly better results than just staring at a blank, empty chatbot.
And hey, just for full transparency here to maintain our journalistic integrity, the Side Hustle Command Center is an educational tool and it's Howard's own Etsy product. We're mentioning it here purely as a tangible, real-world example of that workflow-first design philosophy that these huge AI labs are trying to scale right now.
Okay, wait, I gotta interrupt again, because everything you're describing right now sounds incredibly risky. If I let an AI lab or some massive private equity team wire their agents deeply into my CRM and run my daily workflows, aren't we just building the ultimate vendor lock-in? Like, what actually happens to our operations if we want to leave?
So, the crucial point is, that concern is exactly why we finalize our 7-day checklist with Rule 7, Demand and Exit Plan. If your architecture is so deeply entangled with one specific AI provider that you literally can't swap them out without breaking your entire company, you haven't achieved a deployment. You've achieved a hostage situation. True, sustainable deployment is always modular.
And that really brings us to the ultimate trade-off here. As these AI labs build this direct pipeline straight to private equity, we have to look at the reality of the situation. Is this finally the moment AI becomes a true ROI engine through repeatable templates? Or does this just create an incredibly expensive mandatory services layer where enterprises are forced to pay a premium just to make raw AI usable?
Private equity wants measurable cost savings, and they want them fast. Now, that kind of pressure can enforce some really healthy discipline, but it can also optimize for short-term metrics over long-term capability. So we're going to leave you with this specific thought to ponder on Wall Street's new playbook. Is PE the right accelerator for AI adoption or the wrong incentive structure? Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you in the next explainer.